Today, I'm sitting down with Barry Schwartz, a leading figure in the world of search engine optimization. As CEO of Rusty Brick and an editor at Search Engine Roundtable and Search Engine Land, today we're going to be talking about all the latest developments around AI and search engine optimization. We're also going to go over the recent Google updates and what that means for the future. We actually have some insights overall into how SEO has changed and how algorithms are looking at websites a little bit differently. We're going to talk about the shift from traditional search to AI-based search engines and what that means for marketers going into 2025. We're also going to look at AI overviews and the type of content that's being served in these AI overviews so that you can create more of it for yourself. We're also going to see how SEO professionals are using AI to get better results, and we're going to talk through the biggest challenges and opportunities for search engine optimization and AI together over the next couple of years. Let's dive into it. Today, I'm so happy because we have Barry Schwartz on. Barry, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Barry, thanks for taking the time. Today, we're going to be chatting through Google algorithm updates. We're going to talk a lot about AI, get into SERP features. But first, I wanted to ask you, you recently had an interview with Danny Sullivan, and I wanted to ask, what stood out to you from that interview? What came from it?
There's a lot of sites that were hit by many Google algorithm updates in the past. Specifically, the September helpful content update in 2023 was really harmful to a lot of sites. And I wanted to really understand where the future what the future for those sites are. I mean, Google's been saying we want to reward small publishers. A lot of small publishers are saying they were hit hard. They lost almost all their traffic. They had to fire their staff. These people are it's very devastating. And I'm really trying to get an understanding of, is that it for these websites or not? And Danny was saying it's not it, but honestly, we had a bunch of core updates afterwards, even this last August core update, and we saw some promising signs for those websites or some of those websites with this last core update, and then that kind of reversed in the past week or so. So I was really trying to understand, and try to get information from Google about where do these websites stand. And obviously Google's gonna be like, yeah, everything, keep working on your websites, make it better, and we'll want to rank it better, rank them. But it just doesn't seem like that's the case. It doesn't seem like it's happening. And even though Google's, at least Danny Sullivan's, words are saying, yes, it's possible. These sites could recover. These sites could do really well and make a lot of money. Then you have Reddit ranking for everything. And that's also useful according to Google. It seems like publishers are in the hardest spot they've been in I can't remember ever this being this hard for publishers, especially news publishers, or content producers that are independent producers, writing very niche topics. And it's sad to see. It's sad to see these things happening. And I was trying to get Google to understand that, which I think Danny Sullivan does really well because he comes from a niche. I worked with him at Search Engine Land when he was there, so I think he understands it. At the same time, he doesn't control the algorithm. He's not an engineer. He's not writing the code. He's just bringing the feedback to the engineering team that does that. That was part of the interview, was really trying to say these publishers are hurting, which I think he understands and he knows. And is there going to be any signs of life for these publishers in the future? And he hopes so.
Is there any world in the future where you think these updates become less drastic as a part of this feedback that we've presented to them?
Google has said previously, many years ago, that they tried to make these updates very not drastic at all. For anybody, as a whole, yes, searchers probably don't notice the difference. Outside of Reddit, okay, forget Reddit and stuff like that. We remove the Reddit results and the forums and the hidden gems. Searchers probably don't notice a difference, and maybe most publishers don't. But if you are a small publisher that was hit by an update that doesn't have a loyal readership, you get most of your traffic from Google. And you get hit by an update. Anybody who gets hit by an update, especially a core update or one of these helpful content updates from the past, you feel it. You could lose 90% of your traffic overnight and you're done. So it might not be drastic to the web as a whole or to the Google index as a whole, but to that individual publication, there's nothing you could do. It's drastic beyond belief. It's tough when you hear these stories. And I've been listening to these stories since, the Florida update back in 2003. So you would think people will learn not to put all their eggs in one basket, but I don't necessarily blame them if you think about it. You might try to diversify, but if 90% of your traffic is coming from Google and then overnight it's not, what are you going to do?
Well, how can you not? I mean, you have to scale the business based off of, the amount of new customers that are coming in through Google. You can't ignore it. You have to address it from an operational perspective. So you start building it up and building it up. And also, some businesses are really just built around search. They are actual search businesses. Now, in a recent article you wrote, you said Google search ranking increases during core update were wiped out post update. And so that August update that went out was huge. We felt it across clients, mostly positively, if not entirely positively across our clients. So that's always good to see. But now you're saying that, and this is just today. Today is the 23rd of September. You're saying some of those gains have been pulled back. Is that correct?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the people who were saying we saw some signs of life during the core update in August, um, and not a lot of people did, but there are a number of sites that did. A lot of those people are now saying, even that little glimmer of hope that Google gave us a week or two later, it's gone. Google smashed it and took it away from us. And I don't know what's more devastating, like, telling a kid you could have, this treat, and then before you hand it, like you hand it to them, then you just take it away from them before they get to eat it. So I don't know. That crew of publishers that were hit by these updates, they're rightfully so. They're really not happy. They are expressing themselves on my website. They're expressing themselves on social. It's bad, and there's only so much defending one could do for Google, and saying, it just seems like they're not aware of what their algorithms are doing, or maybe they don't care. I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily the case for speaking to individuals at Google, but it seems to be the case from the algorithm itself. And algorithms don't have emotions and so forth. I get that, but it just seems like the algorithm is not doing what the Google spokespeople are saying.
Well, they've developed a very tricky world to manage with different industries, news, third party websites like Reddit in there now, and all of this now also with AI at the top that's actually providing answers to questions. And where are all these answers actually coming from? It is always interesting to think about. Before we jump into thinking about AI and how that's influencing things, we're seeing on our side these recent Google updates. I mean, they're looking at quality content. Are things cited correctly? Are they following EEAT? And then we're also seeing that websites that have invested heavily on the technical side are doing pretty well. Anything you're seeing from these updates that's jumped out at you?
I mean, it's all the same. It's like everything. It's not just content. It's the user experience. You're, I don't know. It's not like in the old days, like, oh, you had bad links, fix those. Or you had like, a section of your website had bad content on it, fix it or no index it. It's literally everything.
I think that's actually a really interesting insight, Barry. We should double down into that. It doesn't feel like a little link issue, or it doesn't feel like there's a section of your website that has, bad, qualities. It's actually more the inclusivity of the site.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really like, it's funny. I remember Matt Cutts in the old days. He's like, Apple does amazing job with their devices, their hardware, their devices, not only from the device itself and not only from the marketing, but also from boxing it, what boxes they put it in. And you have to think about that from your website. It's not just about the content of your website, it's how it's presented, it's how it's interacting with the users, it's how you're conveying that messaging to your users. It's everything. And I think, obviously Matt Cutts hasn't been Google for many, many years, and he's foreshadowing what would happen today. But you really need to have the whole entire package for your website for it to rank well. And it upsets a lot of people because not many small publishers can't do that. I mean, I've been hit by tons of updates over the years, and thankfully I diversify my income. I don't have to worry too much about it, and I could do this as a hobby. Whereas a lot of people go all in, and they should when they build a business, they should go all in on their business and build out the best possible website. But they can't always do it to the level of other websites.
I just think that point is, and for any SEOs listening right now, there was a minute where I was kind of ignoring some of the core Web Vital stuff. I was kind of ignoring some of the page speed technical stuff. I thought if we just produced high quality content, that would be enough. But really, I agree with Barry. I really think it is everything together as a package nowadays if you want to survive these algorithm updates. Now, one really interesting headline that was on your site recently, 55% are using traditional search like Google less since generative AI products. How are you seeing AI being used from a search perspective? Is it taking market share away from traditional search?
It's a good question. So that was a study. The original study was done by the Information website, and their results were like 77% of their subscriber base um, found that they're using traditional search like Google less often than they were. And it's being replaced by either ChatGPT or other things, or just supplemented by it. So I did a poll of my own audience or on Twitter asking the same thing, and it was the number was 55%. Of course, I'm in the SEO world; people are doing search all the time. Yeah, I don't know. People don't really see in their analytics. I mean, you still look at your analytics and you still look at your sources of traffic. Yeah, mostly Google, some Bing, a DuckDuckGo in here or there. But you rarely see in like much traffic from like ChatGPT or any of the like Perplexity and stuff like that. So I don't think marketers have to worry too much about it today. And even if it's the case, I mean, like, are people clicking on results through ChatGPT? Or people? It's less likely to get a click anyway from these AI answer search engines. So yeah, it's not like you can't compare them to each other. You can't compare like a result set from ChatGPT to a result set of Google or Bing search results. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's hard to say. I mean, you have to look at these bigger data studies from like companies that do these boards of studies to look at this stuff. Like I think StatCounter has some like worldwide search market share, and if you look at their like Google's market share, they're doing fine. They're still above 90% as of August data. I guess September will update at some point. I don't really see it here yet. Back a year ago, they were at 91.8%. Now they're at 90.5%. Who grew? I don't know. I mean, like there's everybody else is like under, a couple points of percentage points. So it's all about the click and converting that click. So it's a whole nother story, but I don't think we see that in our own stats or our analytics.
Well, one question I'm getting asked a lot is if more people are using Gemini specifically for search and more people are using ChatGPT for search, that's great, but how much? Is it 1,000 searches a month? Is it 100,000? Is it a million searches a month? What does that look like in our category? And should we be focusing more efforts on generative engine optimization? Do you think it's going to grow over the next couple of years and become a bigger focus?
Yeah, I mean, Google hopes not. So if Google does their job, they'll get everybody on the Google search results page. They'll have the AI overviews. They'll have their different AI elements on the page to give the answers that they need to, and also the 10 blue links. If it doesn't go that route, and you think about the Apple device, so you have your Apple phone and Siri, and now there's Apple Intelligence stuff that's going on. And Apple Intelligence, you saw their demo. You would ask Siri a question, and Siri would either give you it might use a different search engine. It might use Apple Maps. It might use Yelp. It might use OpenTable for like local stuff. Then it might use ChatGPT for your homework. It might use Google Shopping for search, like shopping related search results. So Apple's going about it like, using AI, which tool should I use to answer this person's voice query? So I think that's a very interesting approach for that. But again, I don't really know which way it's going to go. Obviously, OpenAI is massive. I mean, their money behind OpenAI is insane. So they are a real threat to Google, and they are working on Search GPT, their own search engine. So it will be interesting to see how much market share a company like OpenAI can take away. Microsoft, you think would be able to do that over the years because they're massive and Bing search and so forth, and they have a big partnership with OpenAI. You want to go shopping, you probably don't go to Google to do shopping. You probably go to Amazon. So I think people think about where is the go-to place for them to find what they're looking for. Google wants that to be everything on Google, but they haven't really cracked that with shopping yet. And where is there space for other players to come in to come in with ChatGPT and you name it. So it will be very interesting to see how searcher behavior navigates in the future around this.
You said something really interesting there, and I think it really hits home for me. I mean, AI is really going to become the quarterback for each of these platforms. One way or another, long term, Google's going to have some AI central engine that's dictating what shows up inside of search. And ChatGPT is going to be another option for that. Sounds like they're going to be building that into Apple. So, really, I think we're looking at a centralized AI interface for these different platforms.
Right. That's definitely Apple's approach. It seems like you said, a good way of phrasing it, a quarterback for using AI to say which search service or which service, be an AI service or just Google search, to give you the user the response. What's the best response set for that? Will it be a mix of that? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. Like it's fun times to be in search, so it's very fun to watch how things are changing so fast. And I think the next several years will be really telling when we look back at it.
It is fun times to be in search. I've always loved being in search. One of the new things that came to search was Google's AI overviews. In a recent article on your site, you said 96% of Google AI overview links go to informational intent pages. Talk to me about that article a little bit.
That was a study done by SEO Clarity. I think Mark Trappenhagen sent me that data. And he said if you look at the links in those AI overviews, he said like 96% of those pages that you would click on to go to were informational pages. Now, if you really understood that and look at it as a human, a lot of those informational pages were like content marketing oriented pages that were trying to sell you something, get you to go somewhere, fill out a white paper, buy something. So even though they were informational, yes, they were providing information, but they all had like a sales or conversion intent, or most of them did. But it basically, doubles down to saying how important content is for you to rank in Google search, as well as Google's AI overviews and I guess Gemini and so forth. Content feeds it all. And you want to basically feed that content to these AI engines so that they could go ahead and take your content, show it to the user so that nobody actually will end up clicking on it anyway, but it's there if they wanted to click on it.
So if you want to show up in AI overviews, it's really a matter of creating similar informational pages.
Right now, I think there's another study, like, I don't know, it was like around 50% or 60% of the links provided in the AI overviews match that what was in the top 10 links in the Google traditional search results. So generally, to rank well in Google AI overviews, you should probably also have to rank well for traditional search as well. And the question is, what about the other 40%? Probably because the AI overview is doing some type of tangential, relevant, offshoot of the query to say, how can we expand that query to give you other links that might be relevant to it? So you probably are, if you looked at what that query refinement was for that AI overview, those links in those refinements were probably the top search results for those as well. Nobody has done a deeper search study to see that because we don't really know what the refinements are. But again, it seems like right now it's generally the top links in the AI overviews are the top links in the traditional Google search results anyway.
Great study if anybody's looking to do one, and also just a good insight for SEO for 2025 to realize that informational content is what's being served there at the top, and to create similar content for yourself so that you can show up in the AI overviews. Very recently, Google asked on social if you will use Gemini AI for SEO, which was kind of an interesting thing to ask. What did we learn from that?
Google learned a lot. Google actually removed the poll from Twitter. They took it down because it was kind of like a brain dead. Like every SEO is like, how could you tell us to do this? You just told us like don't use AI for these purposes.
There seems to be some type of battle going on there within Google, where obviously there's a bunch of great applications for using AI for different parts of SEO and just business in general, but then also on the other end, they just don't want a bunch of AI content. So there's some tug of war happening.
Yeah, I think that the confusion is around the scaled content policy. And basically, one thing from the interview, again, that was a small point in that interview with Danny Sullivan, is like people got that whole messaging wrong. It wasn't really about the AI content. It was more about the scaled content policy. And Google has the scaled content, guideline that they don't want you to create scaled, content at scale for the purpose of manipulating Google search results. Now you could do that using humans. You could do that using machine learning. You could use that using, programmatic SEO. And Google's like, don't do it. Now, since we have AI, it's so much easier and so much, it's at anybody's fingertips to create content at scale using AI. And that was the big takeaway. Not that necessarily AI is bad. It's just don't do it. Don't create content at scale. So for Gemini to post this, how could you basically, it says use Gemini to help optimize and boost your online presence. And it goes, what SEO tasks do you plan to use, et cetera. Again, you shouldn't be looking at trying to boost your presence in Google search to manipulate Google search. It's basically say, how can I use Gemini to manipulate Google search for your SEO, for using SEO tactics? And that was the whole brain dead part of this study.
And so out of the poll, out of 550 people, 33% said they use it for content creation, 25% said keyword optimization, 14% said meta titles and descriptions, and 25% said other another comment essentially. But I like the keyword optimization angle and the titles and the description. Those are types of things that you could definitely use AI's help for, and we're seeing some of that. We're also seeing some competitive analysis being done with AI. What's missing on this page that's on these other pages that are ranking high? But interesting to see Google asking that question. Have you seen any other really exciting applications coming to SEO using AI?
There's so many ways I've seen people use it to detect like duplicate content issues. I've seen people use it for indexing issues. I've seen people use it for crawl and crawlability stuff. Um, Crawl budget. I mean, you name it. There's lots of different ways, not just for content creation, not for just for ideas for content, not just for coming up with different title tags or relevant keywords, but also on the technical SEO front. So there's tons of unlimited uses for AI across not just SEO but any business.
We're seeing, AI can now create images and create videos. I wonder if there's going to be a lot of low quality image and video spam that comes to Google as a result of that. What do you think?
90+% of my images that I use on my own stories are created using Midjourney. Because how else do I write a story about I don't know, Google bot crawling the web? How else do I get a red and blue, green and yellow robot spider crawling around? You can't do that. But I think generally they're clearly images that are AI generated, but they look great and they're relevant to the article. But I think Google has coming out with some type of label soon in the near future where they're going to be able to say this image was generated using AI, was edited in Photoshop, was created using camera. So Google is working on that. I think they announced it last week that they're working on some type of way to document if an image, I guess a video too, is generated using AI or other means.
It'll be interesting to see if they deprioritize AI images or videos in the future. I know Meta came out with some news recently that they were going to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know how important. I mean, I don't think it would downgrade the content of that piece. Like if I'm using an AI image on a piece of content, should that downgrade the whole piece of content? I don't know, but definitely for the image. I mean, most of my images are completely irrelevant. I mean, I have screenshots. Screenshots are relevant, but the header images most people's header images are irrelevant to the content itself. It's the screenshots within how-tos. Like here's a screenshot of how to do something in Google Search Console. Here's a screenshot of how to do something in Google Ads. But outside of that, I think in general, like header images are useless. I think John Mueller just said on Reddit this week, about alt tags and so forth, and why the page the image is embedded on is important. Because if you have a photo of a beach and you're an artist, maybe you painted a photo of a beach. If you are a photographer, maybe you know how to take photos of people on the beach. If you are a hotel, this is what our beach looks like for a hotel. Those are all very, very specific use cases and why the context of the embedded image is important to that page.
Well, before we get into what people should be thinking about for 2025, I'd like to just spend a minute on SERP features. Have you seen anything new or exciting? And are you seeing more SERP features coming to Google in general by industry?
I mean, SERP features I'm constantly covering. I have a whole section on I'm searching a roundtable covering all the new features that I see. Not all, a lot. I don't cover everything, but a lot of different tests that Google's looking at. So if you want to look at them yourself, it's like seroundtable.com/tag/Google-user-interface. I mean, I'm covering probably, I don't know, several a week. So it's not one specific one. I mean, the AI overviews is the most interesting because that's going to play a dominant space and how they're changing AI overviews from they used to have these cards, used to take up a whole bit of screen. Now they're much shorter. Now they have these link images and so forth. So how those things might change, where the generative AI is being used in knowledge panels, in Google Maps, in local results. But Google's constantly testing stuff, and people say I cover it a little bit too much. But then when you look back at it, it's like always tells you what Google's trying and where they might be headed. So, I mean, the big thing obviously was when Google launched universal results in like 2006, 2007. That was a big change. But since then, there hasn't been massive changes to the Google user interface since 2006, 2007.
Well, one of the biggest ones I've seen, which I'd love your thoughts on, is the shift for e-commerce related queries versus non-e-commerce related queries. That one, we had some businesses, which I won't go into detail, that I've noticed that they were more product focused, and the entire SERP result changed, and it changed a lot. I mean, there's filters, there's colors, there's different types of categories, and so to me that kind of changed the SEO game for them almost entirely.
Yeah, for sure. That's another example. That's very specific to e-commerce. So if you do a search for any product or something like that, Google will give you this e-commerce look. You have the filters, like you said, on the left-hand side, and there's other filters on the top. There's all these different categories of sections in the middle, like popular products, nearby stores, all that stuff. Any e-commerce store needs to look at carefully. And if you're not a merchant center, you're not playing that game, you're in big trouble. But yeah, e-commerce was a big shift. That happened like, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And it's actually expanding to more queries over time. Google actually just tested something today where they're replacing the shopping e-commerce like interface with what we call these cards at the top. We saw that with, like, you do a search for a personality or somebody like Oprah Winfrey or somebody, you get this like nice knowledge panel at the top for that person. Now we're seeing this with like e-commerce related queries. So we have, Google Merchant Center products shown with their pricing and a bunch of popular stores and review content. So it's less e-commerce and just like there's like a commerce like widget at the top, which is very useful. So I'm not sure. I don't think it will stick, but they probably go back to these e-commerce pages. But it's interesting to see Google actually test that.
I think a lot of SEOs ignore Merchant Center, and I don't think that they should, because especially with the way that these SERP features have changed, it's important. So Barry, as we get into 2025, what are you focused on? Are you thinking about AI? Are you thinking about content? Are you thinking about technical? What would you coach maybe an SEO professional to focus on?
Like, yes to all that. I mean, the big thing that maybe SEOs are not thinking about or haven't thought about 5 years ago, or even maybe a year and a half ago, is the AI stuff. So there's AI in 2 components. One is how searchers are going to be using AI to find your content or to find your services. So it's very, very important for you as a business owner who gets traffic from Google today to see how searchers might use other AI tools, not just Google AI overviews and how the Google AI overviews are responding to those queries, but also to services like ChatGPT, Apple Intelligence, Bing Chat or Copilot, Perplexity, all these other search engines, see what's going on, how those search results look, and how you can actually go ahead and play in that space to get traffic or phone calls to your business. The other thing is how to use AI for tasks, like for your SEO company or PPC company. Like you saw with that Gemini poll, are you using for keyword research, are you using for title tags? So looking for ways to streamline your operations using, not just programmatic SEO, but also AI and different AI tools. So it's really twofold. One is how searchers are using AI to find you, and how you can use AI to produce better content or produce a better website going forward, and to maybe streamline some of your tasks as a business operation.
Barry, really great information today. Loved having you on. If people want to learn more about you, where can they do that?
Anywhere and everywhere under the handle Rusty Brick.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. We'll see you soon. Have a great day.